Morning. Blessings. Uh, okay, so this is a part two of the Whitney experience. And just like a quick recap. Uh, so I was working, um, and it was rush hour. The cashier, Whitney, relayed an order back via the microphone. When she did it, it caused electrical interference, or there was an electrical interference when she did it. Causation. I don't, it's always a difficult thing. What causes what? But anyways, so she ordered it back on the microphone, typed it in on the screen. Uh, Two chicken sandwiches, no mayonnaise. And when she did that, everything went crazy. Like all the electronics went crazy. And she spoke in a language making sounds that I've never heard anything make. It was a language, and it was sounds I've never heard anything make before. I mean, it was never, I've never heard sounds like that before. Everybody in the room freaked out, kind of like looked at her like, whoa. Uh, and then she Jedi mind tricked them. I guess let's use that term. Everybody knows what it means, but I mean, she literally went, it was nothing. And everybody went, boo, turned off. Their focus went into, I think, like a beta state. It's like I don't know what state their brains were in, but it looked like they were operating under more of like a beta type of state of like when you're in kind of watching TV or your focus is completely uncentered. Um, and then I replied at her X. I said something back to her very loud, and then she came back to me with a smirk, and then went back to kind of like everything kind of seeped back into normal. Everybody just kind of started going back into normal operation. I kind of freaked out, but kept working. And then she bailed. Like before the end of the thing, she bailed. Okay, so we're gonna pick up right from there. So then she bailed, and I was kind of like, "What the heck?" So I kind of kept making sandwiches, and I was about to go crazy. Honestly, like I was thinking I need to get my brain checked on. Like something's wrong with me. I did too many drugs when I was in high school. I broke something. Something's broken. Or I don't know, or something even scarier. I was like hoping that my brain was broken because of the implications of what just happened. And so I was at that state that I was hoping that I'm having an intense acid flashback and that it's maybe going to get normal again and that it already got normal again. I don't know, man. I'm like, whoa. I was I was in a bad mental state right then. So a little bit of time went by after Whitney left. I'm not exactly sure how long. Time was really weird at that point. And then I was allowed to go on break, and I went on break with Shimona. We both went on break together at the same time, and so we kind of ate, and I was, kind of letting him, I was just like, kind of like, so what did you think about today? Just kind of like saying a couple things, not really being pointed, be like, what do you think about this? And he was just like totally normal, Shona, like nothing happened, no difference. Shimona always kind of talk about the same types of things, and he's Shimona. Everybody characters have their character theme, and he didn't seem out of the ordinary. So then okay, what the heck? I was like, oh man, I'm broken. I was like, damn, I'm broken. And so then we get done eating, and Shimona wants to smoke a cigarette, and so I go outside and I smoke, and I don't smoke cigarettes, but he was smoking a cigarette, and so I was just kind of like hanging out there with him. And I said, Shimona, what do you think about what happened with Whitney earlier? And he was smoking. And he was like I said that to him, and he's actually facing with his left to me, and he's smoking like this. And he goes, nothing happened with Whitney today. I'm not joking. That's exactly what he did. Word for word. like how we did it. I really remember that moment very well because uh, that's when the paint began to peel. That's when the paint began to peel. I don't know how else to say it. Uh, he wouldn't have said if nothing happened with Whitney. Okay, let's just say nothing did happen. Ivan's brain was broken. Something went wrong with my brain. He wouldn't have said it like that. He'd been like, "What do you mean, Whitney? What do you know?" He'd been like, Tim, he'd been like smoking, and I would have said, "What do you think would happen with Whitney today?" And he'd been like, "What do you mean? What happened with Whitney today?" You know, he would if nothing happened, and there was nothing to cover up or nothing to hide or nothing was going on, he would have questioned me at that point and been like, "Why do you think something's going on with," you know, there would have been a question there. Instead, it was a defensive. It was very much, he was telling me nothing happened with Whitney today. And then went back to smoking a cigarette. And it was like, I was almost scared that he was going to get aggressive with me. I had never heard the guy talk to anybody like that, let alone at me, you know. And I was like, okay, the paint's beginning to peel. I'm going back to work. And he's like, we got to finish. I said, I don't remember exactly what I said. I think I was like, yep, I'm going back to work. And he's like, we got plenty of time or something. He said something about plenty of time. He's going to stay out smoking. And I just went back inside and I went to the bathroom and I experienced fear on this like new level. I experienced fear. Okay, so I'm a combat veteran. I've been in like tornadoes. Like I've been in huge dust storms, huge sandstorms where like everything's getting buried in like a foot of sand, and it's just like, you know, scary situations. I've been in really scary situations. And this was a new type of fear. This was a type of fear where you're doubting everything you've seen, everybody you know, everything, dude. I was in absolute cognitive dissonance. It was one of the most uncomfortable mental states I've ever experienced, and it extrapolated itself into actual physical state. I was torn up. I was scared on this new level. And so I like kind of did some, some techniques that I had learned to kind of calm myself down. You know, I got a hold of my breathing because I was hyperventilating, and I was in a bad way. Got a hold of myself, went back to work. Kind of just tried to play it off. I was like, okay, dude. You know, I was like, no, man. I was telling myself, I was like, this was real. You know what I'm saying? Like I started accepting it. I was like, okay, dude, this was real. If they, whatever this they, and when you know there's the they that you don't know, okay? If you don't know what's there, then it's the unseen. You know, out of sight, out of mind. But when you know that something's there and you don't know what it is, I don't know how I kept myself together at times. There were times when I was really like on the very edge of absolute insanity. It might have been a little bit easier had other people been experiencing it with me, because then you have I'm not crazy, I'm not alone in this. So I went and I talked. You know, I was studying neurology at SIU, and so I had contact with, Dr. Smith and several other doctors, and I went and I talked, and we did some tests, and I didn't really tell them at first why. I just told them, hey, I felt my brain feels weird. I feel weird, and my cognition is off. That's what I said. And they're like, well, you seem pretty lucid, So we did our tests, and a variety of physical tests and neurological tests, and conclusive, normal across the board. Normal EKG, normal everything. I'm normal, man. Nothing's wrong with my brain. High functioning, high lucidity. Okay, and so then I talked, and I'm like, okay, here's what happened, and I told him, and the responses that I've gotten were just holy smokes, man. And I don't want to tell people what people have even told me. I want people to tell me what they think Whitney was. And there's a lot more to the story, and I'm going to tell you a little bit more today. So I collected hard pieces of evidence. This kind of set me on a research. I was like, what in the WTF? What in the whoa, dude? So I started talking to people. Okay, a lot of people at Burger King, they knew this girl. And the story was, and I talked to this person, this person, this person. And, it's difficult to really get direct knowledge without, I wasn't inquisitive. I wasn't like, so tell me Whitney's birth date. But you got to kind of talk about things without talking about, you guys went to school together. Oh, cool. Oh, yeah. Who all went to school? Oh, Whitney was there with you? Kind of picked up some data. Okay, so Whitney went to school with all these kids, right? And the same story was she's been going to school with us since ever. So I found, I never found a picture more than 2 years old of Whitney. Okay, so when you have like school photographs, like you and your class, okay, I found those of the people that said that Whitney was at school with them and she wasn't in the photograph. There wasn't a space holder for her or nothing. She wasn't in the class. And I'd inquire, I'd be like, I thought Whitney, like, yeah, oh no, she's there, you just don't see her. I was like, I don't see her. It's not like you got 50,000 people here. I can scan about 100 items really fast, very accurately, and I'd look, no, she's not there. Look in the names, no name. It was the same story for her and her boyfriend. Okay, her and her boyfriend, her boyfriend and her looked very similar. Like if you went to Lithuania and you've never been to Lithuania, you'd think that all the people there were very related. All Lithuanians look like Lithuanians, And so they looked very similar to each other. And the story about them was the same, that they've been to school together and that they've been going out the whole time. She's always been going out with him, is the story. So no one's able to find, no one has pictures of her more than 2 years old, even class photos. And everybody's story is exactly the same word for word. And it's like rehearsed. Like, when I say it, they'll be like, it's like a recording clicks on. Like, we did the blah, blah. I'm like, that's the exact word for word thing that the one girl said. There's like 3 people there that all went to school with Whitney. There's 4 people at this thing, at this Burger King. They all went to school together. But no one could really collect any stories or photographs of her before 2 years ago. Also, no one has ever seen her parents. No one has ever seen where she sleeps, her or her boyfriend. No one has ever seen their parents or where they sleep or their house. Like they've always just kind of like, okay, we're going home, and then they just go home. No one knows no one knows anything about these people's parents or where they live. I mean, they must live in the area, right? And no one thought it was weird. Like there was a lot of really, really weird things that were just kind of normal, weird things about people that could just kind of be normal things. But like she had, like she always ate, like the weird, there's weird little things, little quirks. They were kind of normal quirks. Like if somebody's a vegetarian, they're a vegetarian. They never carry meat around with them, weird things. So a lot of those aren't even really worth bringing up. But I collected hard data. This person did not exist before 2 years. So a couple days later, Whitney came back to work. And she wasn't normal towards me. She was different towards me. You know what I'm saying? Like she's like, hey, everybody. Hey, Ivan. Like that. I'd be like, how? Okay. Hello, Whitney. Yep. There's like, okay. And then, so we began dialogue. That day she had lunch. She was out at lunch, and I went out and I sat down right in front of her, real quick and real nonchalant. And I just said, so, hey, you're not a, normal human, are you? And she's like, I can't even talk about this, right? That's what she said. She said, I can't even talk about this, right? And I was like, yeah, that's cool, no problem. And I just got up and walked away. So that's what she said. I said, so you're not even a normal human, right? And so I said, I know you're not even a normal human, right? And she's like, I can't even talk about this. And then just kind of like looked down. And I was like, okay. And just got up and walked away. And that was the beginning. That was, there was like the introduction, like, okay, something happened. And then I was just like, went up and just talked to her. And then, and then that night, people stopped by my house where I was living. And I talked to them. And then the next day, I saw people parked somewhere and they didn't look, I was like, hey, I stopped and was like, hey guys. They're like, oh, no worries. We're just making sure nothing happens bad. I was like, okay. I said, I pulled up to them and I said, hey guys. And they said, oh, hey, no worries. We're just making sure nothing happens bad. I was like, that's just something normal that normal people would say. Like, these are the hard data points. There's a lot of other things that, communication happens on other levels other than verbal communication. Just, if you're not aware of that yet, that's another layer to the disclosure, is that communication does not need wires or even sound vibrations. Communication happens in a multitude of manners. And that's what I began to learn from this point on. And I don't really, before I would only talk to doctors and stuff about it, like doctors and cops and priests. I'd confide in certain people, what I'm saying? The normal layman, I didn't find, it just would kind of, there was a variety of reactions. I talked to quite a few different people about this event at first. And then after more events compiled and more experiences, and then I was introduced to another layer, because there's multiple layers to this. Okay, there's multiple layers to what we experience as life forms and states of existence and states of consciousness. The rudimentary form of existence that we kind of experience in this material realm, it's just a single layer of a multitude of kaleidoscope of fractals of layers. All right, we're getting kind of long here. I need to get something to drink. I want to do some stretching and some breathing exercises and listen to some music and look outside. Now, I wish you guys all good blessings. Take this knowledge, do with it what you wish. If you're going to be alive in the next 75 years, you're going to see disclosure. It's going to be about 75 years from now. And the first layer of disclosure will happen. I don't know exactly how they're going to introduce all the layers that exist. What we're experiencing now with, the Navy saying, hey, so there are UFOs. Oh yeah, and Bob Lazar was correct. If you haven't heard of Bob Lazar, I suggest you look up Bob Lazar if you're interested in this whole disclosure thing. Somehow this guy knew about element 115 20 years before it was discovered by that's not even my story. Anyways, really this is just a cool entertainment, and the biggest thing to take from it is to be okay and to love stuff. Oddly enough, that's what I found out. Here's one thing. There's a similarity between people that have had actual experiences. Is that we always want to end it like this, because this is how they always end it with us, is that life doesn't really need to change a whole lot. Like just because we know that there's another fish in the water doesn't mean the whole water's different. They've been here the whole time. Um, but it's going to be shocking. There's no way. And if they take it, even if we take it in steps, what I'm saying? I thought I was ready for it, but it's really crazy. Like even now, I kind of look back at some of these experiences and I'm just like, I'm just, it's so much easier just kind of being a normal human being and not being concerned with all this metaphysical, quantum, and extraterrestrial realms of existence. Because it's just going to make life more complicated. And if you're not happy already, this stuff is not going to make you happy, right? Like people come down and they're like, why don't aliens save everything and make everything better? Well, they probably actually have saved us from nuclear catastrophe on 3 to 5 different occasions. But why don't they come down and stop world hunger and stop X, Y, and Z and give us technology to do everything? Blah, blah, blah. There's a lot of things. Why don't they make everything better? And like that's kind of why they can't. Because if we enter into an even higher technological state and even at this infantile level of expecting other things to like do it for us, those expectation layers lead to self-destruction, right? In order to have the tools of the master, you have to have the hands of a master to use them correctly. And before I experienced and really accepted what was going on, I thought for sure, boom, I got this. Like you beam me up, Scotty, I'm ready. You know what I'm saying? Like I thought I could handle the world, dude. No. I went through an intense cognitive dissonance state. So, and now, I don't have a lightsaber. I don't. Been cool if they would have given me a lightsaber. That's kind of what. You don't ask for a lightsaber. Like the last thing you should ask for is a weapon. And then it all clicked in. Like, yeah, what are we gonna want? Weapons. The first thing that we're gonna want is more powerful weapons. Be honest with yourself, like that's. There'd be a lot of other cool things too, but huge fractions of our population are just still in a very brutal and archaic state of mind. So it's going to take steps. Disclosure is going to take steps to go down. Yeah, okay, so I guess quick recap. So if I do a part 3, it's going to be a little bit easier. At this point, I've begun mostly open communication with these whatever this is. And I really want people to kind of say what they think this is. And I've collected I've heard more than just one thing. That people are like, oh my gosh, it's this. Like they're absolutely certain that it has to be that. It can't be anything else. It has to be this. Or that it's that, or that's that. So I'm interested. What do you think Whitney is? What is she? What is her boyfriend? What were the other two? There's a lot of other people. At this point, 5 different people. And we'll leave the story off. 5 different interactions. About 2 months after the first introduction, I've kind of started getting okay with it at this point. I'm not getting suddenly terrified. Because what would happen is I'd be talking to him and I would get suddenly terrified. Just like, oh my God, fucking. I would think, I'd be like, yeah, I got this. I don't. Oh my God, what? Oh. And I'd need a minute to let it all kind of sink in. And then I'd try, and then I'd accept it. I'd swallow the pill, be like, okay, this is happening. And in the first layers, like we didn't even really talk about hardly anything. It was just like, oh my gosh, this is happening. And back, yeah. And like, this is happening. Like broken record on them. But the main thing is that we get it together. Is that humans get it together and stop being petty and silly and learn how to socialize without competition. This is something I've been talking to a lot of people about. I've noticed that in a normal socialization setting, there tends to be at least a passive-aggressive underpinning of competition, of who has the most and who is the biggest, who knows the most, and I guess this is fun, It's like people, what I've noticed is that they don't, and I don't think they're having fun. Like, I watch it, and there is some chiding that can happen amongst, like, camaraderie, like me and my, like, best friend would be like, oh, you can't lift that up, huh, buddy? Get that, there you go. I kind of, like, push each other a little bit. That exists. And I don't know if that, I don't know everything, so maybe that's even a little bit not wrong, because you're making, it's kind of like making somebody insecure. But that's the main thing, is if you really want to know the truth, you got to get to where you know the truth about yourself, because you're not going to know the truth about out here if you're lying to yourself in here. And a lot of people, I used to do it. I used to lie to myself in my head about myself, to myself all the time, about everything. Granted, I was in a very immature physical state at the time. I was a child. And after you fail enough, you start to realize you're a moron. And that if you're not like 100% focused on something, you're going to mess it up. So there's like a realization that it takes to get through that layer of self-honesty. And we got to get through that layer of self-honesty if you ever want to know the truth of reality. I think that's probably the first most important step. There's a lot of other things, a lot of other steps that can be taken. But that's probably the most important step, is if you really want to know the truth, then you got to be telling yourself the truth about yourself. If you really want to see the truth, you have to be seeing with eyes that see the truth. And if your eyes look at you and they won't see the truth of you, then how do you expect to see the truth out there? And seeing the truth inside is not going to be fun and comfortable. There's a lot of times in the realization, in my self-realization, when I realized I was just a grimy puck of crap, not worth a hockey stick. You know what I'm saying? And then, after you start becoming really honest with yourself, you can start to kind of build a you that you love and that you hold sacred. And that's one thing that I really wish, that's one that, like, I debated, do I start to disclose, and this was before the Iraqi Prime Minister dropped the term Galactic Federation, which I've known about for a long time, which I've said to a lot of different people. I mean, but that's an easy term. I mean, what else would it be called? Anyways, why talk about this stuff? Because it's confusing. Because it doesn't matter and it's confusing. Who cares if there's aliens, dude? There's 50,000 different types of porpoises out there. We just found a new one. Right? So what does it matter? It doesn't matter. How's that change the price of rice? It don't. What changes the price of rice is when each man has compassion and honesty. That will change the price of rice. Otherwise, all we're going to do is just keep flapping our wings and not flying anywhere. It takes self-honesty. And so that's why I debated at the beginning, do I even begin to talk about this stuff? Because it's kind of, it doesn't really matter. You know what I'm saying? It really doesn't matter. You could lead a completely normal life and never see a UFO, never see a demon, never see a poltergeist, never see a quantum flux, Never see any of that. Never even perceive it. Never even bring that into your reality. And still live a true, healthy, beautiful, wonderful life. That's really what matters. It doesn't matter. You don't really want to see everything. Do you want to smell everything? I don't know. And there's a lot of stuff that smells really, really, really bad. Really gross and bad. So you don't really want to. You don't need to connect to everything. We completely. So yeah, we're gonna leave it there. I don't know if I'm gonna do a part 3. From here on out, the story is just kind of like a communication with a variety of beings. And most of the communication is about like human society and human psychology and our inter and personal relations and like how we relate to animals. Like that's one thing we talked a lot about is like how humans are towards other species on our own planet that we've known about, like cows and dogs, like how we treat them, how we treat humans that look a little bit different. If you were an alien and you were around a bunch of species that had weapons like guns that could shoot metal into your body, they get panicked and terrified by other humans that are different colors, that want to have different sexual preferences. If you're terrified by that and you're reactory terrified, a lot of people are reactory terrified, especially in 5, 10, 15, 20, in the past. People were very reactory towards these really minor differences in humans. If I was surrounded by a population of nearly psychotic, homicidal, racist things, I wouldn't be like, look at how different I am. You know what I'm saying? I wouldn't paint a target on myself. I would be like, I would stay a chameleon, and I would, I wouldn't let my little hair follicles turn colors and do whatever the hell, however they change, whatever they're using. There's several different species. Some use technology, some use biological technology to blend in. So, would you just come out? No, dude. No, you wouldn't. You wouldn't. Look at how humans act to other humans, let alone aliens with superior technology. No. Humans would rally en masse, terrified. The pitchforks would come out, for sure, dude. For sure. Our population isn't quite ready. There's still millions of people that function on a highly symbolically, superstitiously interactive paradigm of mind. It's silly to think we're ready at this point. I think 75 years from now, 75 years, at this rate, where they kind of trickle things in, like dook, 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 and then they're going to find like microbial life. You know what I'm saying? They're going to, find microbial life on Titan or